straighten up, Ron Eastwood.
Okay, I have straightened.
No one's going to tell Daria what to do. She's always sitting straight. But in studio with us, we're excited to have them back. Pastor Kevin James and his incredible wife, Tanya, from New Community Bible Fellowship. Welcome back to you both.
Thank you so much, Brian, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now,
Good to be here.
You all have the Strong Family Conference coming. We've got some spots running for it here on the radio station. It's coming up Saturday, June 29th, featuring a long list of speakers, including Dr. Eric Mason and Dr. Julie Slattery, one of our very favorites, of course. She's a trustee at the Moody Bible Institute and an Akron native. And you want to build stronger families. And so as we get into talking about this, what are you seeing in your ministry life as some of the bigger challenges facing families today? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I think that's a big question. And I think one of the big things we're seeing is just basically the climate is different overall in society. More of an emphasis on being anti-God, and not just anti-God, almost pro-Satan. So you see it's more in the culture now that it's okay for young people to live together instead of getting married. Divorce, any degree of conflict or disagreement, it's okay. It's condoned in society. Hey, just go ahead and go your own ways. It's not working. There's no fight. So the overall climate is anti-family more than ever.
And so we're really called, I think, then, to live so differently. It's becoming a bigger and bigger ask, maybe, to some extent?
It is. It is. And it begins with a commitment to Christ. So you understand what the ask is, that you're really making a commitment to your Lord and Savior to honor him in the context of marriage, in the context of family.
Yeah, and speaking of marriage, I know, Tanya, you mentioned to me off the air that you're real passionate about marriage ministry. How are you seeing marriages struggle today? Like, what are some of those big things you're seeing missing or as an issue?
Well, Brian, thanks for asking.
You bet.
That is one of my passions. And I see people just not able to work through their conflicts so well. And that's probably the number one indicator if your marriage is going to work, if you can work through conflict. And so when I meet with women, when I listen to women, like Pastor Kevin said, people just want out because they really can't reconcile with their spouse. And sometimes I kind of feel like the root of it is that they can't really reconcile with God. I was in a Summer Quest class, one of the classes we teach in this summer, and a lady came up and said, I'm wrestling with the Lord because I want what I want, and God is saying no, but I'm trying to figure out why is God telling me no? And it was a big conversation. It was at the end of the class, and so I couldn't just answer her right there. But people are struggling with lordship. What does God want for me? Mm-hmm. And what do I want for myself? And something that's been really challenging for me in the past couple of days has been, can God be Lord of my emotions?
It's good.
Oof.
It's good.
Yeah, and to be honest, my wife and I for many years were trapped in a cycle that we didn't think was bad enough to get help. We should have thought that was the case. But we had trouble resolving conflict. Our families of origin were so different in how they dealt with conflict that we would get into unresolvable arguments that we would just send into a toxic spin. And I think a lot of it, though, has to do with lordship, the more we've worked through it, right? Where it's, we so often just want our way. And we want our self to be acknowledged, when really that's not how you solve those problems.
Not at all. I sometimes listen to women, and I hate to tell people what I think behind the scenes, but sometimes I'll listen to a woman and what her challenges are in her marriage, and I think to myself, what all the stuff that I've had to put up with and die to myself about in order to have a good marriage. Girl, you are staying in this marriage. That is not enough for you to want to leave this marriage. And at the end of the day, it's lordship. Am I going to follow the Lord? Am I going to allow him to take me to a place of forgiveness and repentance and humility?
This is why I love the ministry that you guys do, is because so many people need a pastor's wife to say that, to believe it. And you're not speaking out of turn. I think it's powerful where you're saying, listen, we struggle too.
Yeah.
People look at you and it must be like, wow, you're married to a pastor. It just must be perfect, Tanya. I mean, he's basically just Jesus with skin on.
Have mercy.
No, I tell people the same struggles you're having in your marriage, I have in mine.
Yeah.
So just look at your husband and just think about me.
But in a sense, it's even harder because you all are under a microscope.
Yeah, it's hard.
How has that pressure impacted you? Not to dig too deeply and personally, but
Well, I'll just take this moment to say how proud I am of my wife, man. She is a true woman of God, and she said it, man. It's more than a notion. She signed up for this whole thing to be a pastor's wife, and it wasn't like she didn't know what she was getting into. We talked about this even when we were kind of boyfriend and girlfriend.
so she knew you wanted to be a pastor.
Yeah, it wasn't like we got married and then I got a calling into ministry. No. And she signed up for it, and she's hung in there with it. And dealing with me is enough in and of itself, just keeping Kevin on track and keeping me growing as a man of God, keeping our relationship and our parenting and all the family stuff on track and me in the right place. But then dealing with her role as a leader in the church and as the pastor's wife is very, very hard. And
It's
does a
perhaps
great
harder.
job. Yeah,
Because it's not necessarily a defined role. People have varying expectations of what a pastor's life ought to do, or wife ought to do, right? Like some
Yeah.
want you to be at every event. Others just expect you to look nice and be quiet, I'm sure. Or, I mean, has that been a challenge for you?
Not really. Yes and no. I'm not very much a people pleaser, so it's kind of not been a challenge in some ways. People have actually told me you're going to hurt your husband's ministry based on how you dress.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of thought, well, as soon as you take me shopping and buy me some clothes, I'll dress
But
differently.
hold on. Here was the real context of that. The real context of it was at the time she was working in children's ministry. So she was literally sitting on the floor with children at church. So she would wear maybe some shorts, appropriate shorts,
Sure.
and just a top, to be appropriate to be a mom-like person. So
We're
it
supposed to
wasn't
wear
like
an
she was
evening gown
sitting.
or something?
Wasn't like she was sitting in the sanctuary, but
Maybe a big hat.
everyone has different expectations of her, and I think they tend to show the pastor more grace than they do the pastor's wife sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. A big hat. Can you imagine? Yeah, I've talked to my wife about this very issue when you're serving in children's ministry. It's like what she chooses to wear would be very different.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in the nursery, you're going to be drooled on and you're
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
like spit on and you're going to be on the ground.
Yeah.
And yeah, Lord have mercy. I love your response. And I think a lot of us could use a heavy dose of your not being a people pleaser. It's been a struggle for me. And I think a lot of us as believers do that. But we should be focused on pleasing the Lord
Yes.
and his expectations of us, not what others want. It's 8:47, time for a quick break. In studio with us, Pastor Kevin James and his wife Tanya, and they're from New Community Bible Fellowship. As we have an upcoming conference, we're excited to partner with them on. It's the Family Strong Conference. I think I called it the Strong Family Conference, and that was wrong. So it's the Family Strong Conference.
Way to go.
It's taking place Saturday, June 29th. In case somebody wants to already run and sign up, it's at the website.
Yes, it is.
What's the website again?
newcommunitybible.org.
newcommunitybible.org. When we come back from this break, we'll continue chatting about the really unique issues facing families and why it's important that you ought to consider going to the Family Strong Conference. We're so excited here on Mornings with Brian on WCRF to have Pastor Kevin James and his wife Tanya from New Community Bible Fellowship. They're in studio. Little known fun fact about them, they're not just a pastor and a pastor's wife. He's a saxophonist and she's a jazz DJ. I'm disappointed that he has not brought a saxophone and she has not done any sort of like smooth talking jazz thing. We'll see. Maybe before we're done.
I love it.
They have a conference we're partnering on. We're so excited about. You can go to newcommunitybible.org for more information. It's the Family Strong Conference, Saturday, June 29th. It's coming up here soon, featuring Pastor Kevin James, Dr. Eric Mason, Dr. Julie Slattery, Alan Parr. Why are you all investing so much time and energy into something like this?
Yeah, we just really saw it was important as I began to pray and the rest of our leadership team began to pray. We really wanted to shift and to focus on families. You think about the fact that family was the first institution created by God. It was the only earthly institution created by God before the fall. And it also has a very important role in God's kingdom mandate. He tells Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, have dominion over the earth. And yet the family today is under attack. And so we wanted to be proactive to begin to really, the biblical kingdom family is under attack. We want to really get proactive and begin to speak to some of those and minister to families, celebrate kingdom family, and train people up on how to be strong, godly families.
And I like that as an antidote to society kind of degrading the family. Don't fight with them.
Yeah.
Work hard within ourselves to do better.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know, Tanya, you were talking about how much you love the authenticity of a bunch of the speakers that are coming in. Can you talk about that?
Sure. These people, I think the audience needs authenticity. And Alan Parr, he really goes into those dark parts of his story. When he was single, he didn't get married until he was 40. So this
40, wow.
Yeah, that's kind of old. However, single people need answers, and they're struggling. And I think Alan Parr, when he shares out of his brokenness, out of his life, it's going to help single people understand how to navigate this journey.
Well, and it's so important too for you to be pointing to single folks, because this is not the Family Strong conference. You're not welcome, singles. No, they're part of the church family, and they're part of a family.
Yeah, there's an entire track for singles in this, and Alan and his wife will be there with him too, Jennifer. They're going to be helping singles to know that they have full life purpose right now in their singleness. You know, their purpose is not on hold, and that they are right now important in family as parents, as adult children, as siblings, as uncles and aunties. And that doesn't even include the family of God, which is really what family is for us, is our kingdom family. That's how Jesus defined family over in Mark 3.
And now folks love Dr. Julie Slattery around here. What do you have her focusing on at the conference?
She's going to be talking about sexual brokenness. And she says we're all sexually broken. And I agree, how we're introduced to sex, for a lot of people, it's not positive. And in today's culture, you have to start talking about sex with your children at such an early age. She's going to be doing a breakout called Finding the Hero in Your Husband. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Her book is amazing. And every woman really wants to find that hero in her husband. And oftentimes you have to choose. It's an act of the will. When you've been married for 37 years, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, you realize pretty quickly that the Hollywood romance part of the relationship goes out the window pretty early, and you have to start making choices. How do I want my marriage to be? So to be inspired to find the hero in your husband is going to be amazing for wives.
But we can be kind of irritating husbands.
For sure.
Everybody can be a little irritating. So that you guys are not unique.
But to your point, I think it's incumbent upon us as men, and I just did a Father's Day message called Don't Miss Your Manhood Moment. It's incumbent upon us men to really have a spirit of humility and submission and honoring our wives and our children. That's the tone of the home. Now, we know the technicalities of the home is that everyone submits to the man. But the spirit of the overall tone is a mutual submission.
That's right.
And I think it's important, because we have that authority, that ultimate authority as men, is that we try to minimize that irritating element of not listening, of abusing our power sometimes. Like, we got to make every decision. I know one guy, he wanted to decide on all the decorations for the house and colors and stuff. I'm like, come on, man.
That sounds stressful.
That's an abuse of power. So, you know what I mean? So that's when you say we can be irritating, we can be, and we have to stay humble as men as we lead in the home.
And I tell you what, if you want to build your family to have more strength in the Lord, you ought to consider going on Saturday, June 29th. Sign up in advance, because it's a day-long conference. There's food involved. So please sign up in advance. It's coming up again Saturday, June 29th, New Community Bible Fellowship. Speakers at the conference, at the Family Strong Conference, include, of course, Pastor Kevin James, Dr. Eric Mason, Alan Parr, Dr. Julie Slattery. There's breakout sessions. And again, if folks want to get signed up, what's the best way to do that?
They can go to newcommunitybible.org, and everything they need it's on the website in order to get signed up.
And now, if you're struggling financially and you need to wait to the last minute, of course, you can show up at the door.
You sure can.
However,
Absolutely.
it's best if you can sign up in advance for planning purposes. You don't know how that goes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh. But it's
Again-
going to be a great day of celebrating, a great day of family fun. There's something there for teenagers and children as well. It's just going to be a great day for family. A lot of festivities, food, fun, all that good stuff.
And sweetheart, are there scholarships?
There are scholarships available. So if you're really struggling and you get in touch with us, you can start that process of getting in touch with us through our website. We don't want to turn anyone away who really believes that they need to be there. We are trying to advance the kingdom of God and God's view on family and build up families and encourage these parents. They need encouraging and equipping at this time. So please get in touch with us. Maybe we can help with that.
Again, newcommunitybible.org, newcommunitybible.org, or just come to us. Pastor Kevin James and his wife Tanya from New Community Bible Fellowship, thank you again for your time. Great to see you.